And welcome to One More Thing podcast this morning. We're with Dr. Larry Baucom.
Good morning.
So we're in Tangled series, and this week was the very famous teaching of Jesus, salt and light. I love that teaching, man. There's so many ways. It's a very versatile teaching from Jesus, but I really love the way that you interpreted the verse, and you're bringing out all your highly sought after collection of powerful flashlights.
I have more comments about the flashlights than anything else. And then the other flashlight nerds come out of the closet.
My God.
Some of them have them in their pocket. Look, I got my flashlight today.
I had no idea. You pull out a flashlight, and then you point it, and
it was
bro,
brutal.
that was power.
At 10:30, I made sure no one got it, including me. I mean, it hit me in the eyes. I was seeing dots for a minute.
Oh man,
it was fun, but
I mean, it showed the point. I mean, it was brilliantly, illustrated. But you said something in the sermon, and it's something as leaders we hear quite a bit, that the idea of salt and light is basically this connection to having influence. Mm-hmm. Expand on that a little bit for us.
Well, I think that Jesus looked at his group and said, this is who you are. You are influencers. And basically what he's saying, be it. Mm-hmm. Another deeper level, I would say, the Spirit of God is within you. Live like it. Mm-hmm. Let it make a difference in your community. Let it make a difference in your family. If you have this spirituality, so to speak, and you don't let it live through you, what's the point? Mm-hmm. And really, James says the same thing. You say that you have faith, but faith without this works or faith without actions is really not authentic.
Yeah.
But somewhere in the evangelical world, it's gotten to where you just believe these statements.
That's right.
And but those statements do not influence the world. A cup of water influences the world.
Yeah.
I think those are, a loaf of bread, or let's get more specific, a car,
yeah,
or an oil change.
Yeah.
They really can help people, and they see it. It's,
mm-hmm.
This is what I believe, but I do nothing.
Yeah.
You are to influence people. Use your influence for good.
That's it.
And
that word's hot. I mean, it's a hot word,
mm-hmm.
particularly in our culture. We have social media influencers
mm-hmm.
who are trying to sell us something, and make profit off of it. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
You would look great in this shirt or whatever the case may be. How is it different for us who attempt to be faithful in our following of Christ? Like you mentioned an oil change. When we get together as a community, my wife benefited from that yesterday. She was here and she praised the whole process. So what can we do at an individual level to be salt and light just at work? Like what are some practical things? Because, I have this saying, and after the baptism yesterday, one of our congregants quoted me, and I was very proud that that stuck. Like mm-hmm. I'm tired of trying to convict people with my words.
Right.
I want to convince them with my life. Mm-hmm. And so, what can we do to win back that influence of being faithful followers of Christ?
I think it's a day-to-day thing. It's something that you do at work. Maybe you smile a little more, mm-hmm. be a little kinder.
If you're happy.
Yeah, let your face, if you're happy to know it, tell your face. I think another interesting example is when you're driving down the road and people won't let you in traffic, mm-hmm. and in different parts of the country, they're more kind mm-hmm. than they are in other areas. But the same person who won't let you in traffic, when they see you, will open the door for you to walk into a restaurant or department store or the mall, whatever. You walk up there and people are glad to hold the door open for you,
yeah.
but they wouldn't let you in traffic. And
interesting. Yeah.
And there's something about our psyche or our culture that's, or maybe they're just distracted, or maybe they don't even see you because they're texting while they're driving down the road. I don't. Maybe that's it. But there's a difference. But what can we do at work, at home? Kindness.
That's it.
I think put a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Don't take yourself so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes practice a little more humility. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves, because it doesn't come natural. Today I want to be a little more humble. Today I want to simplify my life a little bit.
Yeah.
Today I want to have a little more compassion for those around me.
Yeah.
And just a few things like that would help us.
Yeah, I think traffic's so relevant for us, especially here in Florida. When I'm able to get into traffic, or someone lets me in, or even if I someone's not, and I still cut them off, the first thing I do is I put my hand out the window and I
Yeah.
wave and I give a thumbs up, like, thank you. Just an appreciation. Hey, thanks for letting me in. Or I know I cut you off, but I'm trying to get into
Right.
traffic, and it just seemed like a spot to get in. So I want to ask you this, and I'm reluctant to ask because when we always speak in the positive here at Suncoast, but I also want to see the other side of the coin. And when I was thinking about what to ask you for, one more thing, I said I'm going to ask him the question. Being salt and light, it's wonderful. Salt brings flavor, influence. Light brings, the removal of obscurity and
Right.
blindness. But I'm not going to put a pound of salt on my chicken breast. Too much light, like yesterday.
It'll blind you.
I'm just as blinded by the light as I am by not seeing in the dark. Like, how did those extremities in Christianity hinder the influential work we're trying to do to show what it means? Too much salt, too much light.
I think that's, I mean, our both of us grew up in a certain traditional heritage, and sometimes those traditional groups get very intense about salt, and they get so much of it that it's no longer flavorful. It's poisonous. And same thing with light. It's no longer helping you find your way. It's a blinding factor as well. So I think part of the balance that we need, and it is balance, the golden mean, the mean between two extremes. I mean, we find our sweet spot, but people want to push it either way.
Yeah.
But I think a little salt, or maybe a little heavier salt, great. I mean, but too much salt, not good.
Yeah.
Too little salt, not good. Where's the balance? I think that's where for me, I find that in my humility. I find that in, okay, take a step back. But I don't like things thrown in my face, either light or salt.
Right. Yeah.
Fair enough. But I want to be those who throw it on my path, but not in my face. Maybe a good response.
And that's how I approach it. It's I'm cooking all this gumbo for these guys, and Bruce sent out this email. He said, "Hey, Pastor Troy, aka Hot Sauce Doucet, is gonna."
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that name because my grandfather, who I've talked about from stage, his nickname was Sauce,
Oh, really?
and so that's why we called him Sauce. And because he was always cooking, and so and Bruce didn't know this, but to call me Hot Sauce, I sent it to my mom, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing."
Yeah.
But I got to be careful when I'm cooking this gumbo for tomorrow night for all these guys, because it's easier to add the salt in and the spice in than it is to take it out once it's there. And that analogy for me is how I approach who I'm communicating with
Right.
in our city. Because I'm really good at reading people. Like, I don't want to be too much salt for this guy.
Right.
Because he has a certain belief about God and Jesus and the Bible. And if I just say, man, here's where I'm at, it's going to be way too much salt. I
Right,
can't
right.
take that back. So you ease in, and too much light. Because as I'm walking onto the beach yesterday, there was another church doing baptisms at the same time. And this guy, he had the bullhorn and just quoting scripture after scripture after scripture with no context, and just famous scriptures that can be interpreted through a particular
Yeah.
seasoning, if you will, particular salt. And as I'm walking by, man, it's almost like my heart didn't break. It just kind of went, how do you deal with what we're trying to do and establish? And it's almost as though, man, I felt God just speak to me, not audibly, obviously, but just through my consciousness, to what you had said Sunday morning. Be salt. Be light. Don't be afraid. Don't hide your light under the bushel.
Right.
But let it shine, but not too much, because you can become just as blinding as they are blinded. And I thought, man, I said, I'm going to pull back, because, you deal with conflict,
Yeah.
and that's what I learned from you. The why you're the Yoda to me, being the Luke Skywalker.
Right.
And I follow your lead in that, because everything in me was just like, bro, go get a theology degree. Bro, that's not what that text means. But inside I'm going, but he's trying to be salt and light. he's doing the best he can with what he knows, and people are listening. And I guess a little bit of salt is better than none at all. Like, how would you?
I think that we can't change everyone else's approach to what they understand Christianity is, but we can do the best we can to communicate what we believe. You know, the best criticism of the bad is the practice of the better.
There you go.
So we just need to practice the better. I had a guy come to me this week and said something about another place he'd been. He said, but this is home. I had a lady that came to me this week and said, I am so glad. She said, this is my home, and she wants to do all these things. We're just in a sweet spot. Now, are we going to be able to convince many others, and I put my mother in the category.
Yeah.
Some people have their traditional views. They probably will not change, but their kids and grandkids need what we have.
Yeah.
And we used to laughingly say, this is not your grandmother's church.
That's right.
The music's loud, and the teaching is a little different, and it's not. But there's a lot of grandmothers who love it here.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
But there's some who will not. And to that, we just simply smile and say, we love you anyway, and do the best you can with what you've got. And I think that's a good mantra for us. But, salt and light, man, influence peddlers. We're influence people. Everything rises and falls on influence, on leadership.
That's right.
And I think we just need to lead the best we can, but and not be judgmental.
Yeah.
It's a tricky balance to always try to see someone doing it a way that we used to.
Right. That's right.
But they've not evolved. And at some point we go,
doing the best they can.
The best grace we can give them is to realize they're looking through a keyhole, and someday maybe the door will open, and they'll see the world in a different way.
That's a great way to close it. Thanks, Dr. Bach.
My pleasure.